Hello class, this is part 2 of the video for Module 4 Lab, and I made a mistake on part 1 because I created a bar chart when actually down here is where they wanted the column chart, so I'm simply going to drag the column chart down here for the answer to this question. So I'm going to cut that and I'm going to paste it down here. What question 2 had wanted was a line chart, so you can compare the difference between a line chart and a column chart. So I'll come back up to question 2, highlight the chart, say insert recommended charts, and select a line chart. Say OK. So this is what question 2 had really wanted, was that line chart. And you see the data is the same. It's just a zigzag chart with Panama the highest, Nepal the lowest. I kind of like this style of chart. But what most business reports like is the bar chart. So you see which is easier to understand, the line chart or the column chart. And then it's for you to describe which chart is easier to read. And like I said, for me, I like to see where the lows are and the highs are visually on a line chart versus just looking for the line data in the bar chart. So let's now go down to question 4. Question 4 is asking for a pie chart with specific type of data selected in the pivot table. So as you can see from my example, it's important to actually read the instructions more carefully instead of just making assumptions like I did. So now I'm going to highlight A through I, since that's the data going to be analyzed in the pivot table. I come down to question 4. I say insert a pivot table, and it's going to be A through I, and it's existing worksheet. And then I'm going to take the safe way by just selecting the cell instead of typing in the data, so I know that's where it's going. I select OK. It's going to say I'm editing data that's in that cell. That's OK. And then the instructions, of course, say the country of sale, and the rating. So you get data for the country of sale and the rating. In this exercise, as question 4 or instructions for question 4 state, we're looking for the most reviews. So what we want is a count of all the ratings that are shown. So we select count, and it shows which countries, how many ratings of the coffees were submitted. So we highlight the chart, the pivot table. We say insert recommended charts, and it asks for a pie chart, even though the column chart looks more appropriate and more obvious, but they want a pie chart. So we say pie chart, say OK, and we get a pie chart. So the question says, which country of sale has the most reviews? Obviously it's Australia. Can't be Australia, I'm sorry. United States is blue. Australia and United States are kind of ambiguous, but if you look at the chart, you see United States is much higher. And what is this telling us? Well, in the previous charts, we saw that Australia had the highest rating for coffees from the consumers, but now you're seeing that Australia only had one stakeholder submit a review. So that's kind of insignificant data as far as statistical analysis goes, it's not statistically significant. In fact, the ones with 3, 2, 5 are not very significantly valid from a statistical standpoint. Hawaii, Taiwan, United States are much more valid. One thing though in the pie chart, because you can see my confusion between Australia and United States, is you really want to go over here and say show the data labels. And what that's going to do is put numbers in here so you can see which countries and what the actual data was for those countries. So you can see that the lighter blue was Hong Kong, and the navy blue was United States with the most data available. I would use different colors in this because I still think the blues are kind of confusing with 3 shades of blue. So that's how this particular question is developed and answered. So now we go to question 5, and it's typically, you're probably getting the gist of it by now, is that you're going to create a pivot table with all the data, A through I. Come over to where we're answering the question. Say insert pivot table, and puts A through I data, existing worksheet. We want to put the pivot table in that location, Say OK, say yes, overwrite that text. You get the pivot table. And then question 5 says, we'll do it real time here. You're looking for the average price of sales per 100 grams. So you're going to select origin, and you're going to select 100 grams in US dollars. So that's a US dollars for 100 grams from each country. Then you're going to do this by average, as it states, because it's an average price. And there's the average price per 100 grams from each country that supplies coffee. Then if you read the instructions, you're going to create a horizontal bar chart. I have to always look and see what kind of chart it wants. So I'll highlight the whole chart, pivot table chart. I say insert, recommended charts, click on the column chart, and I get this. Let me make room for it over here, and I drag it over. And I can see that Panama is the most expensive coffee. If you noticed, looking back, it was actually the coffee that people liked the best also. So there's a correlation there that you might want to talk about in your answer. When you have multiple charts here, what are they telling you? Is like Nepal was the most disliked coffee, and it's pretty cheap, and Panama had the most liked coffee, and it's basically 6 times the cost. So you get what you pay for, apparently, according to this data. So now you answer the question up here. Make sure the chart's big enough to visualize so it doesn't actually ask for an analysis. So then we go down to question 6. So question 6, we're going to create a pie chart that will calculate the average rating by type of roast. That's going to be interesting because there's many different roasts in this chart. Oh, actually there's not many roasters, but the roasts are just medium, light, the types of how it was actually roasted. So I highlight A through I. Come down here where I'm going to put the data. I insert pivot table, A through I, existing worksheet. Come back here. select the cell I want it to go in, say OK. So sorry for pausing the video, but I was getting an error on the pivot table saying that it needed 2 rows in order to create the pivot table. I didn't understand what that meant, so I had to go back and figure that out. And what it was, I'll show you, correct it now, make sure all the data is still highlighted, and I'll do insert pivot table. A through I existing worksheet, but when I go over here to select where I want to put it, I need 2 rows for it to be able to fit instead of just 1 row. So the error message was telling me that. So now I create it. It'll overwrite that data, that's okay. And then I'll get the actual pivot table. So doing it real time like I was, of course, I would encounter an error just like you might and have to go back and figure out what the error was telling me, which I did. So now question 6 is saying that we want roast and rating to be the sort data. And we want to use, I'm reading the instructions, average again. So I right click on here and I say summarize values by average based on the type of roast the coffee is being processed through. And then I create a pie chart with that information, which the instructions say. Instructions trying to get you to create it in different ways doesn't mean in the real world that's how you want to show that data. It's just showing you that there are different ways, and there's basically different visualization value by doing it this way. And right here is one of those visualization problems, because on the surface, even showing the data labels, they all look the same. So if I said, okay, it doesn't really matter. But if you were to do a line chart or a bar chart, you would see a big difference between a dark at 90.5 and a medium dark, the highest, at 93.85. Significant difference. That's about 4% higher. So that is significant. Okay, so we will now answer the question, which is to insert the pie chart, which we just did. So that concludes question 6. So question 7 is to select a data visualization that best communicates the average rating by type of roast to stakeholders. And I probably inadvertently already answered that when I said on the pie chart they all look the same. So what it wants you to do is highlight the data again from question 6, say insert recommended chart, and which chart do you think would best show the differences in the ratings. I would say column chart or line charts are typically good. Line charts usually are used when you're trying to show continuous data between points, but in this case, medium and medium dark, there is no interpolation of data, so that's why a line chart might be considered a little bit misleading, because it acts like there's data in between when there's not. There's only discrete data points, so that's why a column chart is usually more accurate representation to not mislead people. I'll drag this down to this question, because there's only specific discrete data points for each criteria along the x-axis, with nothing interpolated or meaningful in between. So from this you can see that the medium dark, I got the blank line in there too, which I really didn't mean to do. And if it bothers you, you can actually just select this data. There shouldn't really be a blank in there, but there's obviously data in one of the roasting types that doesn't say what it is, so it might be a incorrect value in the table that we're using. But in either case, you can see that the medium dark is the highest of all the roasting types. Okay, so that concludes Lab 4 for Module 4. The tutorial, sorry the recording is a little bit longer. I'd like to keep them at 10 minutes, but because I had that error in creating the pivot table and needed to explain to you what I had done wrong, the video wound up being a little bit longer. But you may encounter mistakes or errors on your own just like that and need to also go figure out what it's telling you. So that's also a good example. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day, and please ask me any questions that you may encounter as you complete this exercise. Thank you very much.